When it comes to elite scoring in the world of college basketball, who comes to your mind? Jimmer Fredette, Doug McDermott, Buddy Hield, or maybe Antoine Davis, the guy who has the second most points all time and that I made a video about. Well, all of those guys I just listed didn't have a season as good as Chris Clemons. Who, you may ask? Well, let's just say he had the best ever modern scoring season that people don't remember. So I thought I'd tell the story of his 2018-19 season. Our story starts actually in the year 2015 when 5'9" freshman Chris Clemons stepped onto Campbell University's court. Yeah, you heard me. Campbell University, the Fighting Camels out of the Big South Conference at the time, is where a player of the video was at during his big season. For his first 3 seasons at Campbell, Clemons seemingly improved in almost every stat. His scoring went from 18 points to 24 points, assists went from 1.8 to 3.1, and field goal percentage started at 42% and he improved it up to 45%. His sophomore and junior seasons, he led the Big South in points per game at 25.1 and 24.9 respectively, not to mention the multiple accolades he accumulated over these 3 seasons as well. Big South Rookie of the Year in 2015, 2015 Big South All-Freshman Team, Big South Second Team in 2015, then he was a 2-time Big South First Team in 16 and 17. So Chris Clemons had established himself as one of the top players in the Big South Conference and one of the better players out of the lower level conferences in college basketball. But little did people know, his senior season was going to break records for his team, for his conference, and for the overall sport. To start his 18-19 season off, he was named the preseason Player of the Year in the Big South, the second time that actually happened, and Game 1 it showed it was going to be a big season. Playing UNC Wilmington in a Campbell overtime win, Chris Clemons scored his 3rd most points of the season at 44 points, shooting 50% from the field. The next 4 games consisted of points of 27, 26, 27, and 34, where the Fighting Camels went 2-2, and where Clemons secured the MVP award at the Jamaica Classic. When in a rematch versus Austin Peay, Clemons became the Big South all-time scorer and surpassed the 2,500 point plateau, which also marked Clemons on the NCAA all-time scoring list at 64th at the time. Then Game 6 of the season saw his second most points of the season with 45 points and a loss versus Georgetown. Clemons shot a nasty 57% from the floor and scored over half the team's points in this 85-93 game. The last 8 non-conference games, Clemons put up 26.3 points per game where he was making 50% of his shots from the floor, but the team only escaped with a 4-4 record. But now that the conference season started, Clemons started playing on a whole new level, especially needed to as Campbell is just 7-7 to start this 18-19 campaign. Conference season opened up with a 72-61 win over Gardner-Webb where Clemons put up a respectable 27. He did a couple better next conference games, scoring 34, even though it was a loss to Winthrop. A bounce-back win against UNC Asheville where Clemons had 22 points on 50% from the field. Campbell's game versus Charleston Southern was Clemons' first Magic of the season. But before the Magic, Clemons scored 15 points in the first half, which marked his 100th straight game in double figures. Now Campbell was actually down 53-39 with 16 minutes left in the game, but where Clemons scored 11 of Campbell's almost last 31 points. I say almost last because this meant the game was at a score of 70-72 in favor of Charleston Southern. Then Chris Clemons hit the game winner with 14 seconds left, giving Campbell a 73-72 victory. However, conference game number 5 was the wildest game of the season against Presbyterian. Clemons scored a measly 26 points, meaning this was the only game he wasn't the top scorer for Campbell. Campbell still won behind senior Andrew Udy, who scored 30 points in the 77-73 victory. During the second conference loss versus Hampton, Clemons was the game highest scorer for Campbell, scoring just 14, but did record his first double-double of his career. January 30th saw Clemons and Campbell take on the top team in the Big South, with that being Radford. The first 8 minutes saw Clemons move up to 16th all-time on the NCAA scoring list, yet Campbell was down 24-27 at half. And where Radford was in the lead 67-60 with 42 seconds left, but some missed free throws let the Camels climb back into the game, where with 4.8 seconds remaining, Clemons pulled up from nearly the logo to sink the game winner to cap the comeback win and his 39-point night. Clemons followed up that 39-point night with another 39 points again, but this time did it making 10 3-pointers in this 83-62 victory. Campbell's 3rd conference game loss of the season came against High Point on February 7th. Chris Clemons put up 23 points in this 57-56 loss, but moved himself up to 12th all-time on the scoring list after passing Elvin Hayes. SC Upstate was conference game number 10 where Clemons scored 23 first-half points, finishing with 32 total in this 82-66 Campbell win. Then in a win over Hampton, Clemons scored his season high of 48 points while setting school records for most free throws at 24 and free throws made at 22. Rematch versus Presbyterian on February 16th, and this time Clemons led the team in scoring with 28. He actually became the 9th player in NCAA D1 history to reach 3,000 career points at Presbyterian. Also set a school single game record for most free throws without a miss, going 16 for 16. After another win over High Point where Clemons scored 27, Campbell's next game at Longwood, Clemons became the NCAA's 6th all-time leading scorer during a 41-point effort in a win, even blocking Longwood's game-winning attempt to get the Campbell victory. Second to last game of the regular season consisted of another win versus SC Upstate where Clemons scored 32 points, shooting 50%. The last game was probably the tallest task these Campbells had all year, because this regular season final was for the regular season title versus the other great team in the conference, Radford. Campbell was down at half 34-28, but our guy of the video led the Camels back to a very close 64-62 victory. Clemons scored 14 of his 30 points in the second half to help lead the team in this comeback and be regular season champs as they had the tiebreaker over Radford. Chris Clemons' whole conference season led to Campbell being regular season champions, like I mentioned prior. With a 12-4 conference record, it meant they got the 1 seed in the conference tourney. Campbell's first matchup in the tourney after their bye came against 8 seed Hampton, where Campbell won 86-77. Clemons did score 34 points, had 19 free throws this game though. Nevertheless, this win got Campbell to the semifinals versus 4 seed Gardner-Webb, where the Fighting Camels saw their season end. Chris Clemons only scored 23 points, his lowest amount of points in the last 11 games, shooting a rough 37% from the floor in this 79-74 loss. If it made the team feel better, Gardner-Webb went on to win the Big South tourney and not Radford. But it's sad to think our guy of the video was a couple of points and a game away from Campbell's first March Madness since 1996. Clemons finished out his 2018-19 campaign by scoring 32 points in Campbell's only NIT game versus UNC Greensboro. This brought his point total to 993 on the season, and more importantly, his points per game finished at 30.09 points. This was the highest points per game mark since the 96-97 season of Charles Jones, who scored 30.1 points per game. Clemons' mark of 30.09 landed him 79th all-time for most points per game in a season, and he is the only player post-2000 to score 30 points per game on the NCAA D1 level. Obviously, accolades came Clemons' way as he got first-team All-Big South, won the Big South Player of the Year, and became the first Campbell player to ever be named on an All-American list. Clemons was actually named to the third team by the U.S. Basketball Writers Association, with honorable mentions by other publications. And with his career wrapped up, his 18-19 season put him, at the time, third all-time for career points with 3,225. Chris Clemons put up a season that we may never see again in the college basketball world. It's pretty sad that his season and his whole career doesn't get the attention that he deserves. He showed that small conference guys can play ball and gave us basketball fans a season to look back on. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and hitting the bell notifications. Thank you.